Hi, this is Lada from astrolada.com with your June 2018 horoscopes, and this month there is one big event happening in the stars, in the sky. This is Mars going retrograde, and I'm gonna walk you step by step what to do because it's a critical pivotal period. It can affect you for the next 6-7 months after that. But before I start, just to remind you that on the 27th of May we're starting a foundational course with me on the 12 houses of astrology, house rulers, planets in houses. You don't need to know any astrology, and it's going to be 6 months, and it's only $200. If you get on before May 27th, you get $50 off, and after that it becomes $250. It's my most successful course, and I hope you enjoy it. But otherwise, Mars, and I'm doing the same intro for all the 12 signs because I want to explain first how Mars works before it goes retrograde. And Mars goes retrograde once every 2.5 years. It's a very rare influence, but especially when Mars has gone retrograde in Aquarius like 40 years ago the last time. So the opportunities and the changes in your life that can happen now will affect you in a way that they haven't affected that they haven't been like for 40 years, almost like 40 or 50 years actually. 1971 or something, Mars went retrograde in the same place. And what does it mean to Mars go retrograde? It goes retrograde towards the end of the month. It means that Mars will be closest to Earth. From our perspective, it becomes a super bright red angry star in the sky. It means it's very strong. A retrograde planet being so much closer to Earth has its influence overpowering. So basically it will be like a boot camp of Mars energy for us for about 2-3 months while Mars is retrograde. And the most intense period is when Mars is changing direction. So this is happening in June and then again in August, towards the end in August. So from the middle of June till the end of June, it's going to be super intense time for many of us in specific areas of their life. So basically Mars till now was moving forward. Just imagine it's like you're driving, you're sailing with your ship in the journey of life forward, and you're kind of doing it on automatic. And you reach to some point. This is Mars. Mars is our actions, how we move forward, how we proceed. And often, you know, when you're driving a car and you're always on the same road, you kind of zone out and you do it automatically. This is when Mars moves direct. There are no surprises, things go according to your expectations. But now Mars slows down at the end of June. From the middle of June it slows down, the end of June it makes a roundabout and starts tracking back in the first 10 degrees of Aquarius again. So it means like almost like you reach a point here, you're driving your car and now there is a blockage. So something happens in your life that will require you to change direction in regards to your actions, in regards to the path you're walking down on. And when you're driving normally, you don't think much, it's automatic. But when when there is a blockage or you have to find a different road, you have to use a lot more of your willpower and a lot of more concentrated and focused thought, because now you're not on automatic. You have to find different solutions, you have to look for a different path, you have to fix some problem. That's what happens when Mars starts slowing down around that period, from the middle of June till maybe till the end of June. And it will require you to be a lot more conscious and present with using Mars energy. And Mars energy is moving forward, or your assertiveness, how you do things, your initiatives and activities. You can't just proceed on automatic. You have to be way more careful, way more contemplative, way more map out each step carefully, because you can make a mistake, or you can somehow hurt yourself, or you can otherwise, if you just continue like before, you can't reach the journey that you're supposed to go on. So there will be this slowing down and starting to move backwards, which means we'll slow down. Something happens here from the middle of June till the end, some crisis situation usually, or something that you hit some wall. And you have to change your direction of action. You have to change your plan games. You have to be prepared to be more flexible. And when Mars moves retrograde, it acts more like its second ruler, like Scorpio. Because when Mars moves direct, it acts more like Aries. Aries is move forward, let's initiate things, let's move ahead, very spontaneous, very, almost without thinking action. But when it starts moving backwards, it gets the energies of Scorpio more. So it means like we have to be much more strategic, much more planning, much more patient. Mars in Scorpio is patient and careful and maneuvers carefully. We have to use our willpower with way more precision, and we have to engage the willpower way more than at other times. Than we normally engage it. So it's intense period. But the ultimate goal of this Mars retrograde will be to basically help you fix some situation that is not healthy in your life or that's not productive. It's the ultimate goal is to teach you to use your Mars energy, which is initiative, assertiveness, courage, in a more productive way. If you're someone who is overly angry, something will happen here to show you that you cannot continue like that. If you're overly bossy or pushy or assertive, you'd have to reevaluate your martial behaviors, maybe apologize to people, fix something due to your impulsive energies before. Or because some actions that you've done before which were not with so much thought. Or if you're someone who has lower energy of Mars, so who is not assertive, who allows others to take advantage of them, who is not initiative, again you'd have to reevaluate your Mars behaviors, and you might have to confront those people that are blocking you from being, that are scaring you from being assertive, and you have to assert yourself. You have to, so that's why a lot more fights happen, a lot more arguments while you're readjusting the level of your Mars energy, how you initiate things, how you move forward in life, how you fight for what you believe, so all those things we're going to talk about them one by one. And Marina is doing a webinar on Mars retrograde as well in June. You can check, it's very cheap, I think it's $20 only. You can check her webinar as well, and there's a link below, and join her as well to see personally how it's going to affect you, because those predictions that I do, they're more general. They don't see specifically in your horoscope, but in that webinar she'll show you how to do it. So for anyone who has the rising in Sagittarius, ascendant sign, or sun or moon in Sagittarius, Mars will go retrograde in your third house. If this is Sagittarius, here Mars is 1, 2, 3, basically in the third sign, third house from you guys. So let's see what you should prepare for, and how you can at least be mentally prepared for what's to come. Well, the third house is people that you meet in your everyday life. These are basically your co-workers, workmates, playmates, schoolmates. Maybe these are also some of your friends that you meet like casually to have coffee with, chat with. Third house is also relatives, siblings, neighbors. So it's a very social house. It is connected to people of some sort. Maybe not exactly the committed relationships and closest friendships of any sort, but these are still people that are very much in your daily environment, especially siblings, relatives, neighbors. Well, Mars going retrograde there means that some kind of crisis can happen in your relationships with such people that you have to be prepared for. Maybe a reevaluation of such relationships, of how the power is divided in such relationships. If you allow such people to take, to bully you or push you around and you don't speak out, maybe now you reach the end of your rope and you have to reconsider your relationship with them and to take your power back and confront them even in some way. Or if it's the other way, if you've been pushing them too hard, if you've been maybe kind of rushing things too much with them, or maybe kind of insensitive of their feelings, which is you're the more aggressive Mars in a sense towards such people, maybe more angry, maybe fighting a bit more, well, then these people might fight back for you now. Your relationship with them can reach some kind of a crisis that it needs to, the balance of power has to be readjusted. And another way it can play out is that, so be careful not to fight with such people, to have especially verbal, when Mars starts going stationary and retrograde, some kind of a verbal verbal fights and having too strong opinions towards others and fighting about what you communicate, you know, and because it can have longer consequences than you expect. Actually, it can create a much more stressful situation, because if Mars was just passing direct through your horoscope there, you might have some, you know, encounter with such people and a bit of a tension with them, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't create complications. But when Mars is going to go retrograde, basically it will stay there for so many months till the end of September. Well, do you want to deal really with issues with those people till then? Well, not really. So be a bit more careful if you can in respect to that. But sometimes it's the end of the, you know, sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes this is what you have to do. On another level is that you might have to combine your energies with someone represented by the third house, like brothers, siblings, neighbors. And instead of fighting with your neighbors or with siblings or co-workers or teammates or associates of any sort, you might have to work together in some project that requires a lot of your energy, maybe like a group activity of some sort, like some kind of a group project that you're working on together. A small group activities is the third house. That is the more benevolent way Mars in the third house going retrograde can manifest, and it can take again a couple of months that you're working very hard on something, and maybe this project gets delayed, maybe there creates some more stress and tension and requires you to use more of your willpower in regards to that thing that you're working on. But third house generally also rules all kind of commercial and business activities, transactions, communications, writing, speaking. That's why I warned you with your communications. You might have to be a bit more careful, because if you say things, you might regret them too rashly, too fast, or too hurtfully to others. You might have to retrace back those words and apologize. You know, when Mars starts going retrograde, or you might respond to someone too fast and then regret that you wrote that email, that you rushed and said something you shouldn't have. So just be more cautious, you know, in your communications generally. Or maybe if you're a writer or a speaker or someone who works in the media, who gives information to others, which is the third house, verbally or spoken or written, or who works with reports, who works with documents, which is all third house, who works with you know, business administrative tasks of some sort, you might have to be again more careful that you don't make certain mistakes that you have to correct when Mars starts going retrograde. But at the same time, you might have to work on certain projects, whether you're a writer, you might have to correct something, you know, maybe you want to publish the book, but they say, well, rewrite these few chapters, Mars goes retrograde, this is what you're doing basically. Or you might have to be preparing behind the scenes. Retrograde planet, especially Mars, is a lot more about doing some research rather than moving forward, you know, searching for something alternative or extra information that you need, that you have to gather in order to proceed forward. When Mars turns direct with this business commercial project or some kind of a project connected to writing, to speaking, you know, all of those things, some kind of skill that you need to develop further. Third house is skills that you might have to put extra efforts and energy to develop to the next level. Or maybe you're using certain skill in your work and Mars starts going retrograde, and or before that, some situation happens that shows you that your skills are not up to date, or that you have to intensify and deepen those skills, because third house is all skills that we learn of the hands, of the mind, information that we learn. So you have to intensify or deepen such kind of information or such skills while Mars is retrograde. Maybe take a course on something, more intensive course. Or maybe just practice the piano, or if you do marketing, or if you do you know, video editing, whatever skill you're using, you might have to dig deeper there in regards to the and possibly kind of, because Mars retrograde teaches us, demands from us that we use more consciously that energy, you know, especially if you have to learn extra, expand the skills or improve them or brush them up in some way and deepen them. You might have to use a lot more conscious willpower. And then when Mars starts moving direct, you'd have acquired this skill, you'd have mastered it so well that you can start doing it automatically, more by heart already. But that's more towards September, you know. So maybe it's a time of intense studies of sometimes, in times of intense research, or you know, or maybe taking some marketing course, or maybe taking some communication course, or preparing something in regards to reading or writing, or maybe preparing some product, commercial product, like third house rules websites and any products you might release that the marketing you have to do. Maybe it will be delayed while Mars is retrograde, some kind of delay or some kind of frustration, or maybe some changing of that marketing strategy or the marketing project that you have to do in order for it to be more successful, because when Mars is not moving direct, is retrograde, you have to put more efforts. But again, by the end of the period, if you've put 3 times more willpower and efforts, you can come up with a much better marketing strategy or project that you release, final project of some sort. Third house is your siblings and neighbors as well. Maybe there might be some complications in their lives, so maybe a sibling is going through more tough time that you might have to help them as well, and that can affect your relationship as well. There's some other possibilities how this transit might manifest. Third house is also about we spoke about the skills, we spoke about communications. Yes, be careful that you don't break devices. Mars retrograde is prone to more accidents. Third house is any kind of laptops and phones and communication devices of sorts. Maybe breaking them or having it damaged by someone who is not well-meaning, like stolen or something like that. Mars retrograde can do such things. Just be careful around your devices a bit more, especially at the time when Mars is going stationary and then turns in retrograde, so the last 2 weeks of June. I don't know, is there more? You know, third house is travels as well, short travels. Maybe there can be some complications there, or maybe having to fix your car. Third house is transportation of any sort, you know, or maybe it turns out that you have to find an alternative transportation to your work, or that the tube that you're taking to your work is gonna be closed for a month, so you're gonna have to either find a new car or to find the alternative way to get to work, or for traveling in some way. There might be some frustrations in regards to traveling, going to places, having to fix a car. Might be a great time to buy a second-hand car, for example. Retrograde is something that is older, or you know, or to fix your car, and just be more careful on trips and on the road, because there can be some road rage more is common when Mars is retrograde in the third house, from you or from others, or just that you're more impatient on the road, but you have to be more patient. That's what Mars retrograde is, and use more consciousness rather than doing things automatically. And you know, third house is vehicles and driving and all of those things. And organizing some trips. Maybe if you've wanted to organize some trips, it might be delayed, or you might have to think of a different strategy for the trip, or you might be accompanied by certain stresses. Again, when you're forewarned, you're forearmed, you don't have to freak out, you know. Okay, third house is short trips as well. I think we mentioned almost everything. It's documents, maybe some papers and documents. You might have to, you know, maybe some letters or communications that you're expecting can push your buttons in the wrong way. So again, be more strategic, like a Scorpio would be, because retrograde Mars is about using more scorpionic energy, more strategic in your communications. And also there might be some delay with signing of certain papers and things like that. So yes, hopefully that prepares you well for the coming period. And at the same time, Venus is in your 8th house till the middle of the month, so that can be a good time to receive some money from clients, or a present from someone, to gain something from other people in some way. Maybe if you make some kind of sales, maybe it will have more sales if it's kind of directed towards other people, to receiving resources from other people, or you can ask for support and help from another, whether it's with their skills or with their resources, or with something. You will receive support more when Venus is in your 8th house. So thank you so much, Sagittarius. Hope that's a good preparation, and and Mercury is in your 7th house till the middle of the month, the first part of the month, which means that important communications with people are happening, with partners, one-to-one partners, business important. The first part can be good for certain business partnerships, to communicate with partners, to get in touch with others, to reach out to others as well. And maybe more young and youthful people, more skilled people will be around you in your life the first part of June. And maybe as well it's a good time to have conversations with your partners. They will go well, to work on some project together with a partner. So thank you so much, Sagittarius, and I will see you next month.